Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Gamers Podcast. We're back here with another podcast. It's been a while since we did the last episode, just because there hasn't been anything too interesting worth talking about or noting. But we're back here, and I'm going to be talking about Helldivers 2, which the game just came out. And as a matter of fact, and don't, I actually intended it for this to be this way. So just this past Thursday, I had some Helldivers 2 gameplay come out here on the channel. And that was most of the reason. I was gonna have you guys look at the gameplay, see the gameplay here on the channel. Then I was gonna make a podcast about it and talk about it. Now I did have some original ideas. I was originally gonna go on here on a podcast and talk about before the game came out. Now obviously, I bought the game, of course, because obviously the gameplay came out. But I've been looking at this game, looking at a couple different articles about it. Before it led up to its release, and I've been reading about it, and it sounded like a really fun game. Then eventually, one of my friends actually he got it and played it and started playing it. So then I decided, hey, I'll buy this game. And again, I did my fair share of research. But that was kind of one of the final things, is me buying the game. One of my friends getting it. So again, like I said, I contemplated having a podcast come out before the game came out, talking about what the game's going to be all about. Now I wasn't 100% sure I was going to buy it, but like I said, after my friend got it, that really pushed me to buy it all the more. So I'm going to be talking about my overall experience with the game so far, what the game really is about, and obviously if you guys want to go back, if you haven't watched the gameplay episode that came out this past Thursday, I strongly encourage you to go watch it, because if you're really interested about how the game works and how the gameplay mechanics work. And that's also one of the reasons why I made the gameplay video for reference, also to lead it up to a podcast, just because it's a very hot trending game right now. But that's also one of the reasons why I put the gameplay video out, so you guys can go back and watch it for reference. So I was going to do a podcast and then some gameplay, then I decided to do a gameplay and then podcast, just different technical things. But let's just get right into it. So Helldivers 2 is actually a very fun game, especially when you play with different friends. It is a very, and I'm not reading off really an article here. This is mainly just going to be my raw thoughts on it. Nothing too crazy, but it's a very interesting game. It's based mostly off of teamwork. Like, you're in a team, you go there and fight, do different missions. You could have a spaceship it's kind of like a spaceship. Where you can pretty much customize it, name it whatever you want, kind of customize it and everything. You can customize your character, which is called a Helldiver. Customize your Helldiver and make it kind of your own. And here's the other part that I really enjoy. So most games have digital currency nowadays, but you could buy that with real money. This game, you can buy stuff like, if you grind hard enough on the game, you could buy stuff out of their store. I forget what their currency is called, but you could buy it with, like, if you grind out the game and complete missions and stuff, you could buy, like, capes. There's different kind of capes and helmets and stuff for your Helldiver. You could buy that stuff with in-game currency, but you could earn it. Like, you don't have to spend real money. You can earn it if you grind it out hard enough, which I think is actually very more rewarding than just buying it, like, with real money. Like, it kind of shows that you really grinded the game out. So that's one of the things I like. I also like the teamwork factor because, as I was saying, you go in, you fight different kinds of, pretty sure it's either like bugs, but then it's also, there's other missions where sometimes you fight robots and stuff like that. It sounds kind of crazy if you haven't watched, not even my gameplay video, but if you haven't watched any gameplay of it, it sounds kind of weird and not necessarily something that some people may enjoy, but most people do enjoy it, and it's actually a very popular game. As I mentioned earlier, been seeing a lot of different videos about it, and a lot of bigger YouTubers have been making videos about it. So it's a very trending game right now. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because of it's very different from some of the other games, because you have to work with your team to towards a goal. Like, usually, like, yeah, you have games where you have a team and you work towards teamwork, but I feel like Helldivers is different because you're actually kind of not forced to work together, but you have to work together in order to complete the mission. Like, otherwise, if you don't work together, which you can, there is some, sometimes, like, there's people who just don't want to work with you, but otherwise, if you don't really work together, 9 times out of 10 in my experience, if your teammates won't work together with it, you're not going to complete the mission. And the missions aren't hard. Now, there are some more challenging missions, but there are some missions that aren't hard. But the harder missions especially need the teamwork. So whether you're with a group of randoms or with a group of friends, you're going to have that teamwork. Otherwise, for the most part, you're not going to be able to complete the mission, which is what I really enjoy, because sometimes, like, you could just complete a game on your own, whatever it may be. But this game, it actually requires teamwork, which I think is very interesting in a game. Now, there's also more stuff that I want to go into. Like, the weapon mechanics are actually really good, and I like how it's like, it's kind of hard to explain, but you have to go up down to call in for just for an example, an orbital strike, which is kind of weird, but I really enjoy that. If that makes sense. If you look at the gameplay video, you probably know what I'm talking about. And then the guns are really good. You could unlock different kinds of weapons and your loadout and everything. That's really nice. And that's another thing you could spend your points on, I think, is different guns. So it's like hard-earned currency that you get through grinding out the game. You also can get different kinds of perks, I think, and which is you load up before the game. You can get different kind of perks where if you again see, this is why I made the gameplay video, because I could reference the gameplay video that I made so much. It was kind of why I wanted to put it out before I made the podcast. But yeah, if you do look back in that gameplay video, there is different perks like the orbital strike and the there's like a thing you call a machine gun. You could also respawn your teammates. And that's one of the perks you could get. And there's a lot more perks that you could get. So that's just a rough example. Again, the reference in that gameplay. But there is also another thing. I think I just mentioned it. It was you couldn't. Well, it's not a perk. You automatically get it. But that's another thing. You have to respawn your teammate. Like, they don't respawn automatically. But you have to respawn your teammates. So somebody has to throw a little ball thing down, and then you'll drop out of the sky. So that's also another very important aspect of the teamwork part of the game, where your teammates can respawn you, and if they don't decide to respawn you, then they don't have to respawn you. I think that's how it works. But that's also, one of the more crucial parts of having a good team and how teamwork works. Like, that's very important. So that's another reason why teamwork is very important. I also said it's also very fun to play with friends because, again, it's like a group game. If you want to get together with some friends, it's very fun to hang out and play Helldivers. I also really enjoy the ship aspect. I know I mentioned that before, but the ship aspect, you could have your own ship and design it kind of how you want. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about Helldivers. Now, me personally, now again, I mentioned again that it's not everybody's taste. It's not very classical for everybody who likes it. But for those of you who don't enjoy the kind of spacious games, or not spacious, but space games, if that makes sense, kind of like a outer space kind of thing. It's probably not your cup of tea, but for most people, I've seen that everybody really enjoys it. I really enjoy it, and I'm not really into those kind of games in the first place, but I played it with a few friends. I've also played it with a few randoms, like that gameplay. It was completely with randoms, and I wasn't, we didn't really talk or say anything. So that's, and I think in that gameplay video, when I reviewed it, very good teamwork involved, kind of got the mission done, so that's just another example. Now, if you're looking for a recommendation for me on buying this game, I would buy it if I were you. It's only $40, which in terms sounds not too much, but it's not as expensive as the other games. Because some games nowadays are, $70, $80. So it's relatively cheap for like a brand new game in my opinion, but the experience that you're going to get, it's probably far worth more than that. If you're into teamwork building games and all that kind of stuff, this is probably a game for you. So I would definitely recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff. Now, if you're not, of course, like I said, not really into that too much stuff. But that's pretty much all I have to say on Helldivers. So leave a comment down below. If you guys have already played the game, comment down below what your experience was. If you liked it, didn't like it, whatever it may be, let's discuss it. So I'm very excited to see. And if you guys are planning to get the game, let me know too. So I'm very excited to hear. And it's a very interesting game. I really enjoy it, and I'm going to continue to play it because it's a good time. Real good time. I would highly recommend it. With that being said, make sure to subscribe for more content, like the video, all good stuff, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, links in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video.